Welcome to the British Chamber of Commerce in Taipei's podcast, hosted by me, Steve Parker. This is a series that's going to bring a fresh perspective to leadership, motivation and how to succeed. We'll be talking to a diverse range of CEOs, leaders and people in the business, world-class talent, as we like to call them. And I've certainly got world-class talent today. Hsieh is here. Abby I've known for a very long time. She's the Managing Director of Ogilvy PR Taiwan, which is, I think people know who it is, one of APAC's largest and most dynamic PR agencies. Cutting-edge technology. You're famous for all this kind of new technology, digital media, all that kind of stuff. She's got a master's in international management. She's very global in her thinking, but also came, as we'll find out, from quite humble beginnings. I've been working together with Abby for a long time now, and we've worked together on a number of programs. Through the British Chamber of Commerce, we run a young professional mentoring scheme, and Abby has been a mentor on that program. And we've also had a very strong Women in Business program for a number of years, and Abby was not only served on the committee that we have for that, but has been a speaker at a number of our events. And you've also been involved in our Women in Business mentoring program. And on top of all this, you're an author now, Abby, I think, right? Do you have an English name for the title of your book yet?
Not yet.
Not yet. All right. So we'll be naming this in English. But for those who understand Chinese, it's 中经理的30个思考.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And it's a really interesting book, and it touches on a lot of the things that we're going to be talking about today. But I want to start by just asking you something. If somebody else was talking about you, what 3 things do you think they would say that kind of describe who you are?
Thanks, Steve. Very nice to meet you guys here. I position myself as a professional manager. So I work on a very famous company called Ogilvy. So people know about me because of my company first. And I also was the first intern to grow to managing director, which is people will always call me 董事总经理. That's the reason my book name come from. And the second thing I like to say, I really believe helping people is also helping myself. So when I join your mentor program, I'm so happy I can help young people to grow because I can see from my growing history, I got a lot of help from others. So I really want to return those favor to younger people. And the third thing is I have been working for Ogilvy for 27 years. I always feel like first day at work. It's so lucky because I can find a job I really like, and I am also passionate about it. To be honest, I don't think I'm the kind of a smart person. From my background, I grew up from the my parents run a small restaurant and do a very small business. So from in my book, I always remember the only time our family can have dinner together actually is the day of year end, and even for the family, we don't time. We have to help my parents to run the business. So that made me think about my future, whether I want to have a similar life like this, or I can create my own. But because I am not good at examination, so I decided to follow my heart. I was talkative. I really want to help people in my school time. When my friends they broke up, so I was eager to push them to talk to each other whether they can get back together or not. This is what I usually do when I was in high school. In my university, I majored in mass communication, and I applied for internship in my university. Actually, the Ogilvy PR is my last one. So I joined the radio station. I applied the TV station for the TV program producer, and then in PR agency. So from all the journey, I realized this is something I like. So I will advise the young people, if we can give yourself more time to discover what you really like, and it saves more time and energy, because when people ask me why you can stay in one company for so long, I will always tell them, if you have done the right decision for the first time, actually that means you don't need to waste your energy to change. It doesn't mean I stay in the same company and I don't change, because in my career, in my company, They change all the time. So for me, every day is something like I have to try to reach out the different areas, knowledge, or I can read a lot of article and I can practice the technology or the thinking in my client cases. Make sure the work we produce is actually effective for them, and I can really share. Also learn from my client is very important. And from what I learn, I can share, I can teach, I can really involve my team to see they can grow from the career as well. So I can help my client to succeed. I can help my boss. He can get a promotion. I can also help my staff. They can learn more skill.
I want to talk a little bit about this because one of the things I want to talk about leadership is not just the big picture.
Right.
A lot of leaders talk about what they do to kind of get them in the leadership frame of mind. Do you have a process that you go through every day? Is there something that makes you kind of like go from sleep to wake to work?
Right. I'm a mother. I have a kid for he's 15 years old. So I think I become a morning animal since I have the new baby. It has been 15 years, and I experienced a totally new lifestyle because from the past, I might sleep late and get up lately. But after it seems 15 years ago, and I try to manage my life from the 6 o'clock I get up in the morning and make sure that everything is in order. And when my kid goes to school and I arrive office like 7 or 8 o'clock and start my day, we was quite quiet. I spend my time dealing with my kids, in the morning, probably 1.5 hours. So I have to go to office directly to make sure before everybody go into office, I can make the prioritize of the day and make sure why is the client is going to complain. So I have to fix the problem before they call me, all the time. And I would say I would like a fireman. Sometimes I have to make sure when I leave the office, the thing has been done by everything. And I would go home. I would tell my staff, from the 6 o'clock to the 10 o'clock, this is my family time. So don't call me. But I will show up around 10:30. If you have something, you can call me then. I will respond as soon as possible. So it's become very mature understanding and it become a mutual understanding from me and my team.
You mentioned this thing which touches on this work-life balance, right? Because you talked about choices that you have to make. You have a family, so you have to look after the family. You talked about creating this space, right? 6 till 10. That is your family space where you're looking after your responsibilities, whatever they may be.
Right.
And then you're back on from like 10:30, right? I saw I was lucky enough to meet the global head of Nestle once, who was asked about work-life balance. And he said, well, when you've got a job like mine, it's not about work-life balance. It's about when the client calls you or the stockholders call you or the shareholders call you or the board calls you 2 or 3 in the morning, you have to answer the call.
Yeah.
This seems like...
Totally agree. Especially for the public relations job, we have a major task. Actually, it's calling crisis management. And the crisis not coming from Monday to Friday. It always comes from Saturday or Sunday morning. So on call, I never turn off my mobile phone, never ever, because I didn't know what is coming. For the client crisis. So this has become my lifestyle. But it doesn't mean I don't have my own time. Me time is so important to me as well. So I kind of agree. We have to on duty all the time because our job is not from 9 to 6 o'clock. It's a regular job because now we have to manage company's operation. We have to manage company profit and loss. We have to make sure our people is growing. And the most important is the company reputation as well. So we have to negotiate from time and our life. sometimes if you can see your life and your work are two person, and you have to make them talk to each other. If now you have more responsibility, for example, if you want to have a promotion and it's mean a lot to you, and I will recommend that you should talk to your wife or your husband or your family. Say, now I need more time to work. So whether you can receive kids at 6:00 and make sure they can have their dinner, and will come back at 10, something like that. So the 3 months or the 6 months, I will need to focus more on my job.
This is super interesting. This is this negotiation for life. Right,
and
you've
job.
got people talk about managing. It's not just managing your work. It's managing the people around you. It's managing your relationships. It's managing your time. All of these things. And people think of managing as kind of a work thing, but actually managing is just taking care of what's around you. Right. And this other thing you touch on, which I think is really interesting, is this idea of honesty. Right? Going into your office or going into your relationships or going into your family and talking about, this is what I need.
Right.
This is what's happening with me. Here's what I need to be successful.
Right.
And then just having an honest conversation with people. And it sounds like you've developed a kind of a nurturing environment in your office.
Right. That's because I made a lot of mistake. When I was joining the Ogilvy for the first and second years, I was sick because I didn't know how to manage a lot of working pressure. And my colleagues, they were so excellent. Everybody have a great ability, and I didn't know how to manage that. So I don't dare to ask any stupid questions. So I think this is there's also one thing to encourage me to write the story on my book, because I want to tell young people, if you need help, you just go and ask. Just don't hide in yourself, because it's definitely not healthy.
I'm hearing this thing, dare to ask, right?
Right.
I find a lot of people, I think, is especially, we live in a reasonably traditional place, Taiwan. And there's, I guess the whole of Asia in some ways is considered to be more traditional, more conservative in some ways compared to certain places. And this idea of actually asking, coming in and saying, I need your help, or even going to the boss and saying, hey, boss, I'm struggling with this thing. I want to do it, right? Show the intention, but I'm struggling. And it sounds like you went through that as a young intern and then as a new employee. And now I think what I've seen of you, and I've known you for a long time, I've seen you, you've taken, with the Chamber of Commerce that we've been working with, you've done intern programs with us, you've been a mentor for a number of people, and I've seen you work with those mentors, and you're very, very good with those mentors, with those mentees, sorry. Mentees, yeah. Gets confusing, doesn't it? But you're very good at working with the kind of the next generation.
Right.
How does that work in your company? Do you see that there is a difference?
It's totally different thinking, because most of people would say that our company has to do the major change, which is digital transformation, and the boss will always tell their staff, say, "Okay, guys, we have to change. You have to make sure our company is on the right direction to digital transformation." I will always tell my friend, actually most of them are CEO and the senior as me, I will tell them, actually for the young people, they have no problem to do the digital transformation, because they are digital animal. From the day they were born, actually it's digital world. It's you has to make sure you can learn the digital skill, and that's you have to change your mindset, not them. Okay, so this is the first thing you have to learn from the young people. It doesn't mean that you have to give up all your skill, okay? But you can keep your intelligence and you can keep your business sense. But if you go to digital thing, you have to dare to ask young people, to ask them what's the new platform, or who are the most popular KOL, Just don't pretend that you're better than them, right? You might be better than them in make sure that what's the issue for a client, what's the brand asset of the client, but go into the execution from the digital stuff, which is everybody needs. You have to make sure that the young people's intelligence or the experience is all with you, and make sure together with their intelligence we can come up with a good idea for the client. I think this is the basic mindset that the young the CEO or the senior manager should have.
So you're talking about the change in leadership is actually a change in leadership. It's not changing. It's not a change in style, right? But actually, as you get to a certain leadership position, you also need to understand that it's impossible for you to know everything. We ran a workshop for some senior leaders, and one of the interesting things that came up from this was this idea of trust. That actually, what you have now in the world is a lot of people who are doing multiple different things. So they'll be super skilled in something, right? But their position is not CEO.
Right.
And the issue is that leadership now is having trouble trusting people who aren't in a position called leader. And so they're talking about the new leadership is actually project-based.
And this is a project manager, we so-called PM. PM is kind of a job. There's a task force. Maybe there's a multi-task force. The leader probably like a director level. But for me, if I join a task, I will be the member. I'm not the leader. So whatever he or she say, I raise my hand, I show my idea. But the decision has to depends on the group or he, because he is a final call. And I totally agree. The leader can do everything very well. He probably can do one specific area, but it has to rely on the people's help and younger people. And just like you said, specific talents is definitely needed.
So I think it's been a fascinating interview with Hsieh. Some of the things that I got out of today were this idea of failure being something you embrace, creating your own future, following your heart, but at the same time caring for people around you. What I heard was Abby talking about how she looks after the next generation because she herself was looked after. And the last thing that I really thought was very interesting was this idea of talking about negotiation, managing your work life, managing your private life, and daring to ask for what you need. So I think we've got some fantastic insights today from Abby, and I really thank her very much for coming to the studio. This podcast will be broadcast on ICRT. It'll also be available on the ICRT website, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or wherever your podcasts are available. Just search for the British Chamber of Commerce in Taipei, and you can also check out our social media. We're on Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, or you can head to our own website, bcctaipei.com. We'll see you next time.